Reborn in Marvel, I woke up as a ghost in Stark Tower. Chapter 1. The last thing he remembered was the impact. A flash of white, screeching tires, the crunch of metal twisting like paper. Then silence. No pain, no noise. Just stillness. And then he opened his eyes. His name had been Ethan Cole. A 23-year-old college graduate, comic nerd, casual gamer, and lifelong Marvel fan. He'd binged the MCU movies more times than he could count. Captain America was his favorite, but Iron Man was the one who made him believe in heroes. So when Ethan opened his eyes and saw the inside of Stark Tower, he genuinely thought this was some kind of afterlife prank. "This can't be real," he whispered. The room was massive, floor-to-ceiling glass windows, sleek white furniture, blue hollow screens flickering silently, and Tony Stark's signature, futuristic architecture everywhere. The JARVIS interface shimmered on a nearby display, reacting to things only Stark would touch. Ethan blinked. "This is Avengers Tower, pre-Battle of New York, 100%. No mistake." But it didn't make sense. He reached out to touch a holographic interface, but his hand passed through it. His chest tightened. He turned, trying to look at his hands. But there were none. Just air. He stumbled backward instinctively and fell. But not like a person. He phased through the glass coffee table like smoke. There was no pain, no thud, nothing. Just weightless silence. What the hell? He stood again, or tried to. No muscles, no bones, just willpower. It was like his body was invisible, untouchable. Was he a ghost? Suddenly, a voice broke the silence. JARVIS, prepare weapons protocol, Alpha 7. Tony Stark. Ethan turned sharply. A staircase unfolded, and the billionaire genius walked down in a dark T and arc reactor, glowing faintly through his shirt. He was muttering to himself and scrolling through a transparent screen. Tony. Freaking Stark. Ethan's mouth dropped open. "This is really happening," he whispered. "I'm in the MCU, in Stark Tower, with Tony Stark. What the hell is going on?" He followed Tony, floating silently like a wisp of wind. His mind was racing. There were only a few moments in the MCU when the tower looked like this. Just before the Chitauri invasion. Before the Avengers even got along. Before the world changed. "I must have died and got sent here. Is this some kind of reincarnation?" His thoughts were interrupted by a sharp burst of static in his head. System booting. Recalibrating entity framework. Host status, ghost entity, unstable. Power sync, 5%. "Wait, what?" Ethan froze midair. "You have been reborn. Current form, intangible spectral entity. Initial power unlocked. Observer mode." Suddenly, a faint HUD appeared in the corner of his vision, like a video game interface. A dim blue circle labeled Energy Core flickered at 5%. Below it, abilities unlocked. 1. Observer mode. You can passively witness events while remaining undetectable. In this form, you cannot affect the world physically. Yet, Ethan felt both excited and terrified. "So I am a ghost, but I'm not stuck like this, right?" No answer came. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time was weird here. Ethan drifted across floors, watching history unfold like he was inside a living museum. He saw Bruce Banner and Tony argue about the Tesseract. He saw Natasha Romanoff speak quietly with Steve Rogers about trust. He floated by Clint Barton's darkened room, unaware that Loki's influence still held him. He knew exactly what was coming. The invasion, the destruction, the death toll. Ethan clenched ghost fists. "I know what happens. Maybe I can warn someone. Maybe I can help." He tried shouting. Nothing. Not even a ripple. He tried touching a notepad. His fingers passed through. "Damn it. Come on." Power core, 6%. Wait, it increased? That night, as the sun dipped below the city, Tony Stark stood on the tower balcony, a drink in hand, staring out at Manhattan. Ethan floated beside him, just watching. For a second, the weight of this world hit him. These weren't just characters anymore. They were people, real, breathing, and the threat coming would destroy lives. Tony rubbed his forehead. Something's coming. I can feel it. He didn't know how right he was. Suddenly, Ethan felt a pull, a vibration in the air, like a string being plucked. Power sync, 7%. New function unlocked, echo pulse. Temporarily distort electromagnetic fields within 3 feet. Minimal interaction possible. Ethan focused. The balcony light beside Tony flickered. Once, then again. Tony looked up, frowning. Sudro, JRVIS. Check the tower circuits. All systems nominal, sir. Ethan's non-existent heart pounded. That was me, he whispered. He didn't know how, but he'd affected something. Finally, a tiny spark, but real. I can do more than watch, he said. I just need time. And time wasn't something this universe had. The next morning, Stark received the warning from SHIELD. Thor would arrive that evening. Loki was already on Earth. The Avengers were being summoned, and the world was about to change. Ethan knew the timeline. He knew what was coming, and slowly, his powers were waking up. But there was something else, something darker. Warning, unknown energy, signature detected. Proximity alert, entity class, God tier. Name, Loki Lafison. Ethan's interface flashed red. He turned, and for the first time since waking in this world, he felt something look back at him. To be continued. Chapter 2. Reborn in Marvel. I woke up as a ghost in Stark Tower. Chapter 2. Echoes in the Mind. The flickering red warning in Ethan's vision didn't fade. Entity detected Loki Lao face on. Cognitive link established level tier S God. Status aware. Sync spike plus 6%. His breath caught, or it would have if he still had lungs. This wasn't a game anymore. It wasn't theory. Loki, the Loki. God of mischief. Wielder of the scepter. Manipulator of minds. Architect of chaos, and worst of all, he felt Ethan. Not saw, not heard, but felt. Somewhere below Stark Tower, in a dimly lit shield containment chamber, Loki sat in his glass cell, relaxed, confident, unnervingly still. The same place where Tony would later confront him, and where the team's tensions would rise. He tilted his head slightly and smiled. Curious, Loki whispered, eyes scanning empty space. You're not part of this world, are you? Exited. Ethan froze. Nor are you entirely absent. A phantom between moments, half-born. Collaborated air around Ethan pulsed. His HUD flickered again. New link formed mind connection. Passive receiver. You are receiving incomplete thoughts from Loki Lao Faison. Caution. God-tier minds may cause instability or memory distortion. Ethan muttered, tension rising. Now I've got a mind link with a trickster god who hasn't even started the apocalypse yet. Loki stood from the bench inside the cell, walking slowly, gracefully to the glass wall. His eyes narrowed as if seeing through dimensions. You don't belong here, Loki said, and yet I smell ambition, loss, anger. His gaze drifted right to Ethan's invisible presence. If I were you, Loki murmured, I'd pick a side before the world starts burning. Ethan snapped back instinctively, his form glitching like static in a digital screen, and found himself back on the upper level of Stark Tower. The psychic link severed with a sharp buzz. Link broken, sync boost, plus 2%, power core, 15%. His head spun, but there was no head to hold. His thoughts raced like a computer on the verge of crashing. Okay, he breathed, so Loki knows something's here. Not who or what, but something. Me. He hovered toward the balcony, gazing at the New York skyline. The sun was rising again. In a few hours, chaos would arrive through the sky in a golden portal. He had to be ready. Later that day, downstairs, Stark, Steve, Banner, and Natasha were mid-argument. Just like in the movie, tempers flaring, philosophies clashing. Ethan watched, floating above like a silent observer, unseen but aware. He's a spy, Steve snapped, pointing at Fury's monitor. "He's a genius," Tony shot back, "and you're a relic." Enough. Even the scepter on the table pulsed faintly, feeding tension into the room. But Ethan wasn't listening to the words anymore. His HUD blinked again. Scepter radiation detected. Cosmic energy signature. Type, Mind Stone. Compatibility scan, 3% complete. New ability unlocked. Emotion surge absorption. You absorb excess emotional energy in proximity, slightly charging your core. Suddenly, Ethan felt it. Anger, frustration, pride, doubt, like a heat wave rolling through his intangible body. His power core ticked up to 17%, then 19%. They couldn't see him, but their emotions fed him. And for the first time since waking in this world, he felt less ghost, more real. That night, he hovered near Bruce Banner's lab. The scientist was analyzing the scepter, eyes sunken from lack of sleep. "I shouldn't be here," Ethan whispered to himself. "I should be in a hospital bed, or dead, not floating around Avengers Tower." Power surge detected. Temporary echo form available. Duration 60 seconds. Physical interaction possible? Yes. Risk moderate. "Wait, really?" Ethan said aloud. And then he focused. The air rippled, light bent, and suddenly he was standing, faintly, like a hologram, but real enough to touch. He reached for a pen on Banner's desk, and this time it didn't pass through. It trembled in his hand, wobbled, then fell. Bruce turned at the sound. "Huh?" he said. Ethan faded instantly, echo form gone. But the damage was done. "Strange," Bruce mumbled, staring at the floor. "Power core, 21%. Ability gained, echo touch cooldown, 24 hours. You may briefly interact with the physical world once per day." "Let's go," Ethan grinned, hovering over the floor. "I'm not stuck. I'm evolving." Elsewhere, Loki stared out from his prison, fingers pressed to the glass. Something had changed. Not in the team, not in the tower, but in the threads of fate. He could feel it, a ripple. He whispered something in Old Norse, a warning to the void. "This world is rewriting itself," he said, "and someone is being rewritten with it." Hours later, the battle begins. The wormhole tears open in the sky. The Chitauri pour through like insects. New York screams. Ethan watches from high above, hovering midair, flickering slightly. His HUD buzzes with alerts. Hostile dimensional entry breach. Emergency sync surge, plus 12%. Power core, 33%. Instinctive power adaptation unlocked. His form shifted, not much, but enough. He now had mass, slight, not visible, but felt. He pushed through a glass window and broke it slightly, not cracked, just warped. Ethan smiled grimly. Time to test himself. He followed Iron Man's dive into the portal. He saw Steve not falling, but flying, through mental focus, toward a collapsing building. A mother and child were trapped. The Chitauri aimed their blaster, and Ethan for the first time reached out with will, not body. Emergency override, echo burst, form spectral pulse, cooldown 48 hours. A concussive blast erupted from his form, knocking the Chitauri aside. The mother crawled out with her child, alive. Ethan faded, panting. "I saved someone," he whispered, voice shaking. "I saved someone." Ethan power core ticked up to 41%. In the skies, Thor unleashed lightning. Hulk roared and smashed. Iron Man aimed his final blast into the sky. And Ethan? He watched and smiled. Not just a ghost anymore, not yet a hero, but something in between. Chapter 1. Chapter 3. The Man Who Shouldn't Exist. The morning after the Battle of New York was surreal. Sirens blared in the distance. Helicopters circled low over the city, carrying the wounded and the dead. People huddled on the streets, eyes wide with fear and awe. But Ethan wasn't on the ground. He floated silently above the rubble, invisible and intangible. Or so he thought. The power coursing through his spectral form had increased overnight. He felt it humming in his veins, or what should have been veins. His power core was now at S for class, 50%, a huge leap in just a day. The city around him was waking to a new reality. The Avengers were heroes, but also targets. And Ethan? He was still a ghost in this world, struggling to find a place. Suddenly, he heard footsteps. Not the clumsy shuffle of a regular person. Confident, determined, familiar. "Ethan," a voice whispered behind him. He spun around and saw Steve Rogers, Captain America, looking directly at him. But how? Ethan tried to disappear, to phase away, but he was rooted in place. Steve stepped closer, eyes sharp but calm. "You're not just a ghost, are you?" Ethan swallowed, or tried to. "I'm not sure," he said honestly. "I woke up here. I don't know why." Steve nodded thoughtfully. "We could use someone like you," Steve said. "Someone who knows what's coming, who can see what others can't." Ethan's heart, if he had one, leapt. Steve took Ethan to the Avengers' temporary base. Inside, Natasha and Bruce exchanged looks. Tony was still in his lab, running diagnostics on the damaged armor. The team was wary but curious. A man who wasn't really a man? A ghost with powers? It sounded crazy. But Steve vouched for him. "Ethan's our secret weapon," Steve said firmly. Over the next few days, Ethan trained. His powers grew stronger. He learned to phase partially through walls, to manipulate electrical signals faintly, and even to possess weak electronic devices briefly. His power core rose steadily, 60%, then 70%. But the more power he gained, the more dangerous he felt. Something deep inside him was stirring, a dark presence he couldn't control. One night, while meditating in the empty tower, Ethan felt it again. Loki's mind link. The god of mischief wasn't finished. "You're growing stronger," Loki's voice echoed in Ethan's mind. "But power comes with a price." Ethan clenched his fists. "What do you want from me?" Loki's laughter filled his thoughts. "To change the course of fate," Loki whispered, "and maybe, just maybe, to rewrite your destiny." The next day, Ethan faced a choice. Continue helping the Avengers as their intangible ally, or explore the dark power tempting him from within. He looked at the city below, the people who needed heroes. He took a deep breath,